Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 380 of the Embodied Podcast. Today, our guest is Asha Frost. And Asha is one of these people who I've been, orbiting around online for a couple years now, but we've never connected before, voice to voice or face to face. So this is a fun conversation because I was also getting to know her as we went. Asha is an enrolled member of Cape Croker First Nation. She's an indigenous medicine woman, spiritual mentor, ceremonial speaker, and author. And her book, we get into her book a little bit here because it's called You Are the Medicine. And right around the time that this interview goes live, the book will have been out just recently. So it's exciting. Check that out. She also has an Oracle deck coming out in 2023. And she believes wholeheartedly in the power within to heal our bodies, our spirits, and our lives. And I love this. Her spirit name is She Who Walks with the Thunderbirds. And as a member of the Crane clan, her facilitation style empowers, uplifts, and inspires with grace and deep love. And you all know those things are absolutely my jam. So enjoy the episode. The show notes can be found at untameyourself.com/380. And let's get into the show. Asha, how are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you.
You too, and people listening to the show, like fairly often actually guests are people I know either quite well personally, or I've been like deep into their work. And so this is going to be a fun interview because we're neither of those things. This is kind of like a get to know you, but like I've been circling around your stuff. I feel like it's for years now. And you have this amazing book that probably by the time the interview gets posted, the book will have like just come out. Because what's the official available date for the book? March something?
Yeah, March 15th.
March 15th. Okay, cool. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but this is probably coming out like maybe a little while after that. And it's called You Are the Medicine. So we're going to dig into that. But first, I have been opening up all of my conversations this season with a couple of questions about God. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what do you call God? Like everyone has different ways of like relating to that, naming that. So what is your like naming and relating to that look like?
Yeah, so in Ojibwe, we say Kijimenado, which means creator. So my way of relating to God is as creator, and I would say like creator of all of the kin. So the animals, the trees, the plants, the land. Yeah, creator in that way, I guess. And I just feel like it exists everywhere. I don't consider it any sort of gender or anything like that. Creation kind of exists everywhere around me. So that's how I kind of relate to it in that way.
I love that. And then I feel like this is probably what your whole friggin' book is about. But so let me fine tune the question a little bit for you specifically. What's maybe your favorite way to connect with creator right now? Or is there a more consistent way or something you feel like is your go-to?
Yeah, I say on my daily walk when I go and I see right now it's really snowy here. So the sunshine in the snow, when it looks like sparkles or like in the snow, that's creator to me. Or it's usually light on water, light on snow. When I see light peeking through trees, that seems to sort of.
Yeah, I live right on Biscayne Bay in Miami, and every day, right around 3:00-ish, I'm getting like the full sun, like getting ready to set right on the bay. And that light on water is always one of my big ones too. And I love when the sun, sometimes the sun is coming through the clouds in such a way that you just have to stop and be like, of course God is real. Like,
I love that. Yes, all that.
it's so beautiful. So, because we are kind of getting to know each other here, normally I don't start out by asking people like an origin story, and we'll do like your bio and your intro before the episode starts. So what do you want us to know about you before we dive into book stuff?
That's such a great question. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, actually, about even my purpose. I come back to like, what is my medicine? That's the name of the book, You Are the Medicine. And just we just went through a full moon. This recent understanding for me is like, I think I'm just coming back to a lot of like decolonization and coming back to like the truth of my nature, especially in this wild world of social media and being called out of myself, coming back to my nature as a healer. And really the purpose is so simple that I hope that my presence has an impact where it brings tears to people's eyes. That's a very clear kind of purpose out of distilled it down to.
And why bring tears to people's eyes? What does that
Mm,
mean for you?
Well, I sat with thousands of people in a private practice for almost 15 years. And the thing people said to me the most was, why do I always cry when I'm here? Or, oh my gosh, I never cry. Why am I crying here? And I realized it was just part of the space that I held just innately. And it wasn't something I had to try at. And I think those are the best parts of ourselves, where we just show up as ourselves and then some sort of magic happens.
And that's really beautiful. Like, I actually cry all the time. I probably cry every day, but I just this past weekend went to a yoga slash sound healing little mini like half day retreat. And one of the reasons I went is because the woman who was doing the yoga part, which she did much more than yoga, but a friend of mine, I recommended her when I first got to Miami, which was like 7 or 8 months ago now. And what I didn't realize, we have the same indigenous lineage. We both come from, partly in our families, Caribbean Taino people. And when I looked at her, I started crying. I was
Yeah.
just, I was like, oh God, there's just something about like being with your own people, even that is so, it just melts for me as a mixed person. It melts me every time. Um, so the name of the book is You Are the Medicine. Why is that the name of the book?
Yeah, it came really from, I was a homeopath for those 15 years, and I saw how homeopathy could help people come back to who they are. They were like sort of catalysts of remembering. And even those tears, I think sometimes tears, as you shared, are like remembering. It's like part of our soul remembers something that brings us back to our wholeness or our belonging or something like that. So yeah, you are the medicine. Every person who sat in front of me, I would give them, I would see their medicine, I would see the remedy, initiate that and catalyze that and bring that forward. And so I really did see the proof that we have this inherent healing ability within us. And I saw it in my own life because I've had lupus diagnosed when I was 17 and been in really bad flares, and also come through those where I couldn't walk and I couldn't bend my hands or write for like months on a time. I couldn't walk up the stairs. I couldn't put my socks on. So I just know that there's this medicine that flows through us, that we can go through those cycles of healing and pain.
So for anyone who might not know, I mean, they could look it up, but since they're here listening, what is homeopathy?
Homeopathy is a system of medicine, is energy medicine, and it's based on plant minerals, animal substances, and it's diluted to a point where it becomes an energetic frequency. And I know there's lots of people who don't believe in it. And I wish I could just be like, oh my gosh, honestly, like I've seen it work with thousands of people, especially with people like, I know, children and not people, animals. It works with animals and children who are just, they have no concept of what it can or can't be. But it really just works with frequency and just matching the frequency that needs healing or just shifting. And then it just goes into that place and helps us to come back to, I think, our natural state. That's my sense, at least.
I don't know why this is the next question that I need to ask you, but what do you notice about when people are resisting that? This question may or may not make sense. So let me know if you need something more specific. What are they actually resisting?
Hmm. Oh, that's like, that brings kind of tears to my eyes. I feel like I can feel that. It's like that, so a wall goes up. I almost sense they're resisting their true nature. Like there's something that they don't want to see. There's like a resistance to that vulnerability, that like there's something beyond that. So that's what I feel. I feel like almost like a wall go up, and then like it just like you can't get through that. So yeah, resisting their true nature.
I are you familiar with Carolyn Mace?
Yes, yes.
I just since last summer, I've been reading like everything that she's done on mysticism and energy medicine. And I'd read Anatomy of the Spirit like literally 10 years ago. And then I decided to revisit her stuff. But one of her books is called Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. And I know I'm so excited to ask you this question from the place that you come from, especially given what you just said. Um, One of the things that bugs me about our kind of like new age world, law of attraction type world, is how true energy medicine gets diluted because people have taken things like the law of attraction and really like upset and turned people off around concepts like, well, you attracted that, right? Like, well, and that in some way gets translated to, well, if you're sick, that's your fault. Like that was your thoughts or that was whatever. And it really has people internalizing a lot of shame. Well, how did I cause this and whatever? So I would love if you can share with us, what is the difference between like that? Because that's not it. But there is some truth in what we've got going on, what we're thinking about, feeling, not processing, hiding from, does affect our health.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the truthy bits in there that you work with?
Yeah, I think the shame piece is huge. And only because I know I've been through that, right? I was 17. I've been searching for healing since then. So it's like, I've been through all the, oh, you're not doing enough alkaline foods and you're not doing enough green juices and like all the wellness stuff. I was in that world for so long. And that shame would always hit me. Oh my gosh, I'm just not eating perfectly enough, or I'm not thinking the right thoughts.
Right.
So I went through all of that. And I feel like it did not help me one bit. Also, seeing somebody who always saw me as broken did not help me one bit.
Right.
So I think that holding that space, that like, yeah, there might be something out of alignment here, or we might need a new frequency to like take up space here, but it's not like you need to be fixed. Like it's already all there, and we just need to find a way in. And often that way in is through our shadow. It's through like the parts we say are dark. Like it's through the parts that we hide or that we don't want to see. And I think that's where the medicine is. It's like in those pieces that as society, we just think we've just made it dark. We've made it shadowy and we're like, we don't want to go there. And those are the pieces where the good stuff is. And it's just not in. I mean, juices are great. Alkaline diets are great. Like, but that's not the pieces where you're going to find that true healing source that is going to be long lasting.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So the thing that made me go, oh my God, I have to have her on the podcast. There was this one post on Facebook where you were talking about orcas. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing. Literally 2013 was the year I really actually started downloading my own medicine. I was moving out of fitness. I had done a couple of trainings and energy work. Like a lot of people, Reiki was my gateway into that. That was my first attunement. And I started having dreams, and orcas were my dreams. And often there would be little dolphins around in the background with the orcas. And then I would also, usually in those dreams or dreams surrounding them, someone would be yelling at me, "You're not listening." Mm. And I would wake up and be like, what am I supposed to be listening for? What do these whales want from me? So I'd love to use that as a segue into what do these animals, and not just orcas, but if you want to geek out on orcas, I'm up for it because I love them so much. But what do the animals mean to you? How do you work with the animal medicine in dreams? Or, we could take this so many different ways. What's most exciting for you?
Yeah, I think that they've always been with me. So they are in dreams a lot. But orcas have been in the last maybe 2 years, like a huge, and they'll be with dolphins too. And it's always when I'm at an edge of like, and probably you're not listening, like, come on now, there's an edge and you're ready to walk through the fire. And like, it's a big fire and they're like breaching and they're leaping. And it's like, okay, are you ready to walk through the fire? It's an invitation to me. So the animals show up in many different ways. Sometimes they come through as ancestors that have passed over, and they'll come through in dreams or in real life as that way. We've always had that understanding as Indigenous people that they are our kin, our allies, our siblings, our beings. Like we treat them as that, right? We're not above them or below them. Like they are sort of that equal energy with us. And then when I speak of, I don't, spirit animal spirit, animal totem has become so big in our vocabulary. I really love to see it as animal medicine. Like what is the medicine they're bringing to you, and what's an unlocking, kind of like a homeopathic remedy. Like if it comes forward to you, what's it reminding you about yourself? What have you forgotten? What's in the shadow that you're not seeing that needs to be looked at and acknowledged, so then you can invite that medicine into your life? And a lot of the medicines are fierce, and they are like walking through the fire. So it's not this like, oh, I just got my wings and I get to fly. It's like, holy crap, I'm being asked to like walk through something really, really challenging and shadowy, and I feel like I might die and I might be going through a death period. But this animal is here as an ally, a guardian, a being. So they've shown up with my work since the beginning. Since I was a homeopath when I was 27, the animals would come in around my clients and I'm like, what are you doing here? I was supposed to be giving you a remedy, but they would just start showing up. And then I started developing this relationship with them as medicine. So they speak to me a lot.
I love this. So the orcas, they don't come as much as they used to. And because one of the things they were really inviting me into was my power and my own medicine. But what's interesting, when they do come in more recent years, there's always an opportunity for me to like get up near them, and I'm always afraid to touch them. There's always some, and I think I've only had one. I mean, I've had so many orca dreams. There's only been one dream where I've actually like touched the orca. And it's so interesting. Like I want to cry just like thinking about them, and how like even discovering like they're apex predators, and like what does that mean? And like they're camouflaged, and it's a matriarchal culture, and and they travel in pods, and they're very communal, like all these things. I'm always like, there's so many layers. What do you want from me this time, orca? What are you trying to show me? So funny. So it goes deep.
It does. It does. And like, there's so many, as you say, there's so many layers. Like those beings have come in and out, I'll have moose dreams and eagle feather and like all these different ones come, but then I just always know when they're there, I'm like, what is going on? There's like a huge next level, probably of my medicine that's ready to be revealed. And I always know it's going to be a bit treacherous. Like I have that feeling like it's going to be big, right? It's going to be big for my soul's evolution, and I got to get ready. And they're there though. That's the one thing I feel like I'm not alone in it. They're there to hold that space.
Yeah, I love this. And I love talking about this. I had my friend Heather on the podcast last year. She does a lot of like dream symbolism work. And one of my favorite things that she talks about is, we could look up in books, well, this animal means this or that animal means this, but there's really always that aspect of our own connection, our own relationship. Like, what does it feel like to us?
Yeah, that's so important, I think. Like, I mean, that's when I do readings for people. Like, well, what does it mean? And that's the number one thing I've loved with when I was a private practice holder and I had people on my table and I'd be like, what do you see? What's unfolding for you? I can see something for you. But the biggest, most deepest rooted wisdom came from when they were like, oh my gosh, I get it. And then it was just like their own knowing. I mean, holding space for that sometimes takes a little longer than telling somebody about what you're seeing, but it's so much more potent. And it's just, I don't know, it's the way I like to do things. So yeah, I love looking up the meaning of things too, and mixing it with your own medicine is just so much more powerful.
So we have practitioners listening. So I'm going to ask this question selfishly for myself, because I'm always navigating this, but it will relate to other people as well. And actually people who work with different types of practitioners, this might be helpful to hear as well, because, no practitioner is perfect. And I certainly have felt like people have shared things with me inappropriately or prematurely in the past during certain things. So how do you walk that line? Like, what's your discernment around when to tell someone what you're seeing, or when to more like guide them into seeing something for themselves?
I think I always love to make the space to let them see it for themselves, like first. So I think I just try to leave as much space as possible for that first. And I also have this sense of just it's almost like I get this gut feel. It's almost like I get a vibration in my third eye, actually. That's sort of just like, it's like a body. It's like a body feeling like, oh, something wants to be spoken here. Something wants to be shared here. But I'm very careful about those boundaries too. Like with the spirit world, with their spirit asking, may I share this? That's the one thing that really is hard for me when I'm doing mentorship. And I repeat it over and over again. We are not tapping into people's energy fields without permission. We are not reading anybody like that. Over the years, the number of DMs that I've gotten, Asha, I have a message for you. I had this dream about you. This is what I mean. And it's just like no. Like, no, there's not even maybe. You do not tap into somebody's energy. So I'm really, because that's come at me so much, I'm hypersensitive to that. And I want to make sure those permissions are set up. So I think that when the permission is set up and then I get those feelings in my body, then I will share.
Nice. Thank you for that. Okay. So take us into the book. I want to talk a little creative process as we talk about the book too, though, because as a creative person, writing a book is a whole rite of passage. I found it to be one of the least favorite experiences I've ever had in my life. It was so hard. How was it for you?
It was really hard. And I don't even know, because it was during a pandemic. My littlest was 2 at the time when I started, and he was home. They were both home running around, throwing Play-Doh at my head. Like that's literally what's how I was writing in the middle of my kitchen with just like all of this going on. So I don't know what would have happened if I had like that romantic idea of going to like the beautiful coffee shop and having silence and like, cause that just did not happen. So I found it really hard to like dig deep and pull those things up.
Mm.
The other pieces that were really hard was when I got to some of the chapters around oppression and colonization and residential school trauma. I felt that's where I got blocked. And I think there were forces at play that were trying to stop my voice from coming through. So I think that some of the depth that I spoke about in the book, there was like energetics going on too that were blocking the flow of the book, which was really challenging, and very, it was a lot. It was a lot to clear.
That's actually making me, I got such a chill and I got very emotional as you were saying that. Like, whew, I could feel that. I'm so glad you wrote it. Thank you for pushing through or moving through whatever you had to move through for that. Whew, that was big, huh?
It was big.
Damn. So, well, then we have to talk about that. People on my show know I cry during my own show all the time. It's fine. Yeah, so let's talk about that, because that is, we live in this, we both operate tangentially or probably more directly sometimes in this like self-help, personal development, healing, spiritual, like whatever the hell you want to call this industry. And people really do, especially in social media. I know people would love to spend more times in like the light and fun and lovely parts of it, but the oppressive piece, the decolonization. And let me just ask you, because that is a word that I know gets tossed around and really misused. So when you say decolonization, what are you specifically referring to?
Whew. Honestly, like the first thing that comes is like the oppression in my chest. Like, how can I just let that be seen? And it's like the truth of, to me, it comes back to like the truth of what's going on Turtle Island in our country right now. Um, it's part of that. And also just this like unwinding, so much unwinding of the systems that we have been marinating in for our entire lives, all of us, like
All of
all
us.
of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it starts there. And the colonial trauma that lives in many of our bones, like it's an unearthing. It's a huge unearthing and it's a lifelong process. I feel like on social media, it seems like, oh, I've got there. I'm like this decolonized person, or like there's this like there to get to. And I just don't think that's ever going to happen in our lifetime.
No, we are like, we're always finding more stuff. And it's interesting. I moved to Miami specifically to be in a place. I tried for 8 years to make California work for me, and I just couldn't. And I had actually done some ancestral healing. And then after that, like literally a month after that, it was like, time to get out of California. This is not your place. And I really looked at the country and went, where could I actually live that would put me in a place that would put my body in a place that's close to at least some of my ancestors? And Miami was the place because there's so many Caribbean Latin people here, and certainly the ocean that some of my ancestors communed on. I was like, all right, Miami, it will be. And that has been so nourishing and healing. And one of the things that I've noticed, I don't know that I even would have thought of it until I got here, was even around my body, which I'm an embodiment person, so I'm always going to notice that, but just how people here are so much more free in their bodies. I mean, it's because that's Latin culture. Like that's like, and that's even in part of it. It's not even just about like, oh, Latin women are more comfortable in their bodies. It's not that. It's just, it's hot. It's hot as hell here. Right. So we're just going to wear less clothes. So it's literally just less of a thing. And some of these things might seem so small to people listening who that's like not the thing that they need to decolonize from, or that works in their life in some way. But that's always so interesting to me, like what things pop up for what people wear and at what phases in their life.
Oh yeah, I think too. Like it depends on the colonial trauma that your people experience too, right? It's like for indigenous people, especially here, it's like all the residential school trauma, like these graves that are being dug up and found of all these children, which is recent, but we've been talking about it. I have been talking about that on social media for like 3 years. And talking. Nobody ever just listens. Nobody really cares. This comes up and everybody's like, oh, and then on National Truth and Reconciliation Day, everybody's like on it. And now it's like, nah, it's really challenging because that will rattle my body again to just see that like people care for one day, they put a square up for one day, they do, and then it's like, oh yeah, that happened. And now we're, now we're just over it. So that lives in our land. Like if we think about beneath our feet, that lives beneath our feet. It's a truth that lives beneath our feet, which we are absorbing every day. So it's in everybody's bones. It should be in everybody's bones, that vibration of that truth. Yeah. So it's a lot. For me, I feel like it'll be like a lifetimes and lifetimes of work.
Right.
So
What what would you prefer to see people doing with that information as it
mm,
comes up?
I think, hmm, I think I would just love to see maybe like the long game of it. Like maybe perhaps people like just even just even talking about it, like not leaving it all to indigenous people to talk about on those days. It's a lot of heaviness. Like, and I don't have to choose this. Let me say, I don't have to choose to talk about these things. I could choose to talk about joy all the time. It's just something that's in my soul that says the truth needs to be,
Yeah.
because the truth for indigenous people here at least just keeps getting covered up. And even that oppression, that word oppression, is being used now everywhere with everything that's going on.
Fucking everything. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just like just maybe being part of our consciousness a little bit more feels, and that might be a judgment. It just literally feels like it gets covered up after those days.
And what about like off social media? What would you recommend? Right? Because that, and this is something I stopped doing last year. I used to be the person that would be so diligent about if something's going on, making sure I was like mentioning it, bringing it to people's awareness and like using my platform in that way. But then I decided that that's actually not genuine for me
Mhm.
because I don't need to be making sure people are paying attention to all these things. In my smaller, like more private communities, to be talking about it more deeply, or even with my close personal friends, to actually be processing stuff and being like, yo, what are you doing about this? Where are you giving your money? What do you like? There was just a switch for me. Um, I didn't want to be performative, which there are ways to post things publicly without being performative or virtue signaling. But for whatever reason, it just felt so important to me to be having deeper, more intimate, and like you said, more ongoing conversations and action and like learning from each other and being accountable with like friends and close people or learning partners and stuff like that. So what other kinds of things either do you do personally or do you recommend for other people to do? Because social media is one avenue, it's one place to be active.
Yes, you're right. And I am not like, I'm kind of the same in that way. Is like I can't be on there all the time doing that. Like I've had to step away from that too because it was too much for my nervous system. So I think all the things you said are so beautiful. Like having these conversations, I have those with my friends like all the time. We just talk about these issues. Even just simple, I think, like standing on the earth barefoot and just being in your body and saying, whose land am I on? Like, whose land is this? And just kind of communicating with the land and being present to some of those things, I think could be a daily practice that would be really easy for folks to do. And even, I think about my kids, they do like a land acknowledgement every morning.
Mm.
What are we saying? Like just being conscious when we say those words, what are we actually saying, and reading some books, doing the things that I think you're right. Like that personal work is everything, because that's where we have to build the capacity to have that in our everyday experience, and it needs to have some joy too. So I love how you said that because I think it's really really important. But all the things you said I think are beautiful, like bringing it to your family conversations, bringing it to your friends, and allowing space for everybody to kind of share what they're experiencing too. Because I don't see things in a black and white way. I think there's a lot of nuance to all of the conversation. And I also believe so strongly in repair. Like, I think we can mess up and we can make repair. So if we just opened our heart to that possibility that I've messed up, I would love somebody to be open to me making repair. And if we just hang out in that space with our friends and our relationships, I think the world would change from that place.
That I just think that's so important. I'm with you. The repair. But and I mean, and this is not a new conversation when people talk about how afraid people are these days with cancel culture and all these things to like speak up or do anything. But it's like, but doing nothing is worse.
Yeah. And I know the cancel culture is so huge right now, and it's just watching it makes my head spin sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. Repair is medicine to me, and I wish we all talked about it more.
How did you teach your kids about land acknowledgement? Because they're little, right?
Well, they're little. Yeah, they're 4 and they're 9. My kids, we talk a lot about the truth. My therapist is great about this. He's always just like, your kids will know, it's in their bones, it's in their blood, it's in their waters. Like they know the truth, and they'll have nightmares about the truth unless you speak about the truth. So,
Mm,
and I'm also Jewish. My husband's Jewish, and I converted. So his grandfather was in the Holocaust. So I know they've got this Holocaust trauma, this
wow.
the trauma. So we just talk about the truth of all of that. And I know people say make it age appropriate. I try, and the truth
What
is
does that even mean though?
I don't know. I tell them the truth. And yeah, and the truth is horrifying. Like what happened in residential schools is horrifying. And I'll say to them, like, Mommy's so lucky that I get to tuck you into bed at night. Like I will tell them what I'm grateful for, because those things did not happen for so many children. And if I was living in another time, they would be taken away from me. Even like sterilization of women in hospitals still happens to Indigenous women. I could have been sterilized and not have a second child. Like those things are real. So we talk about it.
Good. Thank you. And I know before we started recording, we were just kind of touching on certain things in the book that we definitely wanted to make sure we included in the conversation. And one of the things that you said was generational trauma. And I'm actually so glad, because this is something that a couple of weeks ago, I actually text messaged like 8 of my friends. So I'm going to ask you the question I asked them, and then we could talk about whatever else you want to talk about around it, especially related to what's in your book, so people know what they could look for when they get it. But one of the things that I feel like I constantly feel conflicted around is those of us who have had more access to healing or therapy, or even just having like supportive friends, having platform like podcast, like we could talk about this stuff, we could listen, we even know we have trauma, right? Because how many of us have parents who maybe even had no awareness around trauma, but were certainly functioning from it or in it, or that's where they were parenting from primarily. When we're I don't say this in a superior way, it's just like a factual, when we're more healed just because we've done work, right, than older generations, living generations in our family, what do you feel is, if there even is any responsibility on our part? Because you know how people say, well, they're a different generation, almost as a way to like excuse some of this, like sometimes abusive, sometimes just really offensive behavior. What's our responsibility when engaging with people who haven't done the work we have and don't have the awareness we have, but are still being really harmful?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
It's hard.
Really hard. I think that whew, I think that still speaking to it, this is the way I see it, because I'm always really clear that the ancestors are watching. Like there's witnesses, right, in rooms, and even like all of creation is witnessing. So
Mm-hmm.
as you speak it, even if that person doesn't take it in or hear you and it just like goes right by, this plant is hearing it, the wind is hearing it. So I just think it still has an impact. All of creation is hearing
That really makes me want to like curl up in a ball and cry for like 3 days. So beautiful. I'm also on day 2 of my cycle, so I've already cried 4 times today. But that's so beautiful, and I want to thank you, because I recently had a little over a month ago an emergency gallbladder surgery, and while I was healing, there are some things like that I just let pass with like people in my family pretty regularly, and like whatever, they are who they are, they're not going to change. But when I was healing, there was just something about being in that really vulnerable position. I'm typically like the strong one, right? People in my family aren't used to me being the vulnerable one, but like I had incisions in my belly, I needed a special chair because I couldn't even stand up on my own for the first couple of days. And when a couple of people in my family started giving me their typically shit, there was just something in me that was like, not today. And I said something to certain members of my family, and they got so offended. And I wasn't rude. I wasn't nasty. I was just like, basically, I was just like, hey, this isn't cool. Hey, this is very inconsiderate and unhelpful while I'm laying here in this position. And they were just couldn't believe how disrespectful I would be to just speak up. And I kind of knew that would be the reaction. But there was a part of me that was like, I need to say this for my own benefit. Like there's an inner child here that I'm the parent of now, that I get to be like, I got us, girl. We don't have to take their crap anymore. But this aspect, I just feel so moved by what you said. The plants in my home could hear that. Biscayne Bay could hear it out my window. Like, this matters. It travels on the winds. Like, that's so, that extra layer feels so special to me. So thank you.
You're welcome.
What else? How do you even define generational trauma?
Hmm. It's always like experiential for me, or like, I know I don't love, I'm not like oh, this is academically how I do this.
No, and I'm never asking for like an academic, we could put it in a textbook definition. I'm like, what does it look like, feel like? What's the experience for you?
You know what? The experience for me is in dreams and visions and in my waters, and it's in my words and the screams that I hear in my womb. Like it comes as like a very visceral experience. You know, one of the stories I told in my book is my son, when he started school, he did not want to go, and at one point they said, "Mommy, do not let them snatch me away." And I've never used that word snatch before in my life. He was 4, and I remember his face. He looked terrified. Do not let them snatch me away. And I'm like, where does that come from? And I think the Holocaust, the residential schools, like, and that just like obviously brought a lot up. That was before I had done some of this work more deeply. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like it being expressed through a next generation, where it's just like, where is this coming from? And it's like these rememberings in our bones that just like, and as I said, it does come to me through dreams. It does. And I think it comes to all of us in this way. And if we're paying attention, and we haven't been like, it's been colonized out of us to be like, don't listen to your dreams. Your visions don't matter. Your intuition doesn't matter. Like all those things have been smushed out of us. But that's where the messages are. That's where the wisdom is. So that's how it comes forward for me. And I've had to learn how to shake that out, because it's like, it's intense. Like I have visions all the time of priests and nuns and Jesuits and missionaries like that are being my oppressor, because they were my grandparents' oppressors. And they stripped them of all of their medicines, their language. They beat them from their language. Like my grandfather only spoke Ojibwe until he went to residential school, and they beat that language out of him. That's why I don't speak it now. So it's like those are the visions that live in my story, but also in my bones. So yeah, it's a lot. I think it's a lot to walk with.
So I'm not fluent in Spanish, even though my dad's whole side of the family is Puerto Rican. Um, and there's reason for that choice in my household. But moving to Miami, I understand a lot, but I feel very self-conscious to speak. And so I've been taking lessons so I could learn and I could be fluent. But I was also working with an indigenous Taino healer to connect with that aspect of my lineage. And she reminded me, she's like, well, remember, Spanish is not our language. And it was just like, duh. Like, of course, like when you say it's so conditioned into us, I had a moment of being like, of course it's not. Right. In fact, that is actually the colonizer's language. like, like, and just having this moment. But then, so I'm curious for you, because then this struck me, but my family, who has lived in Puerto Rico or on Puerto Rico for many generations, it became their language. So that is now folded into the ancestry, even though it's not the original tongue. We're like, it's so much. It's like you said earlier, it's so like there's so much nuance to it. I don't even know what the question is. How do you feel about that? What does that bring up for you?
It's actually related to the book, because I wanted to put some Ojibwe words into my book, the moon names, and then the animals. And nobody was there to teach me these, right? So I've had to ask some people, but then again, we have so many different dialects across, even in so-called Ontario right now, we have so many different dialects. So I got all like sort of, what is the perfect one? What is the right one? And who's going to call me out? Because there's a lot of lateral violence that goes, into this with Indigenous people. And it was terrifying, but I knew, like, I could feel my grandfather say, these words need to be in here. However you want to put them in, this is how they have to be in. And also me learning. I took 3 courses now to try to learn Ojibwe, and I just cannot, because I know that generational trauma is so heavy that for me to go and try to learn it is, there's just such a block, and I worked on it. So I was reading my book, doing my audio version, and I'd have to stop at every Ojibwe word. And I'd have to go to the dictionary, listen to it again, because I'm terrified. It makes me emotional. I'm terrified of somebody saying, you're not saying it right, or you said it the wrong way, or like, that's just my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Because there's so much trauma attached to that. So yeah, language is like a big thing. And I know that trauma is not all mine, but I do carry it in trying to get this out into the world. I still carry it, and I know that I'm doing my best, and I'm honoring my ancestors by putting it in there.
Yeah. Ugh, I really feel that with you. And that, can you, whatever you feel comfortable speaking to about the lateral violence among people. This is one of my least favorite things in this world that we're living in now, where it seems like we're just trying so hard to decolonize and to re-indigenize, right? I lean more towards, in choosing words, the like pro this or re that, rather than like anti or deep, but I know we need all of it. But I find that so many people want to sit here and pick apart those of us who just want to do better and bring better. And I'm like, y'all, can we please all point our arrows against the oppressors, not each other, as we're trying. And I think this is such an important thing that you just brought up. There was no one to teach you. There was no, like, you were having to fucking Google shit so you can learn it about your own ancestry. And that is not your fault. And that doesn't make you any less of what you are. But it sucks.
It does suck. And for so long, because there is a lot of those arrows coming, right? And they're coming at, I know why they come at me. There's so much trauma around sharing our medicines. There's so much trauma around what's been taken away. Like, I understand the trauma. And if I'm not sharing it, then all the white women are sharing it. So I'm like, who would you rather share this? Who gets the voice? And that's what they're attacking me for. And I think, okay, but so I've had to stay really clear, and like, I am the one that's going to take up space here, even in a publishing house that is mostly people who have shared all of my teachings already. I'm going to have to take up space here because nobody else is doing it. So it's like, being that trailblazer sometimes is really fucking hard. It's just like so hard. And that's what the lateral violence tends to come at. And it's mean. And I have a hard time with mean. I'm just very sensitive. So it's like, you're a liar, you're this, you don't know this, you didn't grow up here, you don't have this. And it's just like so much. So I know how much courage it takes to do what I'm doing. Like, I know that. And like, sometimes I just want to curl up in a ball and go back to bed.
Like, I'm not going to do it today. Just give me a little recalibration break today. And I hope anyone listening, especially white people, can let that sink in for you, right? And I have half my ancestry is European. So this is for me too, right? If you have colonizers in your ancestry, that part of us needs to reconcile that too. Like that, like, we have to know, because we're all connected, that doing violence to someone else is doing violence to ourselves. So on the other side of like that, that's also traumatic. That's often why white people don't want to hear it. They don't want to deal with it. They want to, because they don't want to have to reconcile that if that's in your lineage, that is your trauma also affecting your current life. And then to hear how hard it is for folks to just own their own lineage because it has been colonized out of them. And then even by their own people. So it's like doubly, if you could even measure it, hard. If anything, I'm just inviting people to like really intense compassion around this.
Yeah, it is doubly hard. It does feel like it comes from all directions. I just had to get so clear. Like, as I was having this conversation, I'm like, damn, like, I had to get really clear in writing this and even putting this out in the world in this way about who I am and how I'm going to stand, because I know I'm here to take up more space. And as I said, like, people have already shared all this medicine. They share it all. Like people share animal spirits and moon teaching, like all of these things, right? Not in the way that I have perhaps, but so yeah, I just want part of that space. I want part of the land to share it on.
So what would you say in your particular medicine and your particular approach, from what you see that's now like mainstream, what are some of like the distinctions? What are some of the nuances that you offer in the book?
Well, I was actually really concerned when I wrote my first draft that a lot of it would be colonized. Like that was my one of my, and people were saying that too outside of me, right? Like make sure they don't colonize you, make sure they don't blah 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 you. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna write what I want to write. So when I was little, my mom used to read me these beautiful legends before I went to sleep, and I loved them. And they just really developed my whole outlook on how I saw the natural world because the animals would talk and the trees would speak, and it was just like all of creation would communicate with each other. So I wanted to write some legends in my book. I wanted it to make it really like breathe some of that animation into like the beings and creation. So it has some storytelling in that way that are very based on like how I grew up and what I learned. And it has these stories that I was worried they'd take out, but they didn't. So I'm really grateful for that because that I think sets it apart a little bit from some of the other self-help books that I've read in that way. And also I think, I'm not sure. I haven't read a lot of like animal spirit books, but I think it's like just the relational aspect of like I talk a lot about reciprocity, a lot about honoring, a lot about if you're going to use these teachings, this is what also you have to know, just a lot of this, like, it's not gatekeeping. It's just, I see it as like reciprocity, like thank that animal being for being with you, like honor them, make an altar, do those things that are really gratitude, I think from an indigenous mindset, it's like reciprocity and gratitude are so huge. And I just think that that is poured into my book as teaching.
So something that's wild that like always happens to me, whether I have a podcast interview, healing sessions, Akashic Records readings with clients, like what's ever going on, often like the day of or the day before, something will like cross my awareness, usually on social media, actually. So people who want to be like, social media is garbage. I'm like, you can get gems anywhere if you're looking for gems. Um, just this morning, I saw a post that was saying something like, you don't need to make an ancestor altar. You don't need to do da 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 da. Like everything is our ancestors, the land, the rocks, the this, the that, whatever. And it's interesting because what you're saying is make an altar, entities are our ancestors. You're saying like, yes, all those things are your ancestors. And you could also have this like reverence for it and engage with it in this certain way. And so I always find it so interesting. Like there's so many ways
Oh,
to
yes.
approach things, but I'm feeling from what you're saying, you're using the word reciprocity, but I'm hearing reverence in that.
Yes. I think, yeah, reverence is so, and I just have so much experience with this, right? With folks who like, that was the beginning of my sort of teaching journey is like all of these white women, because I teach primarily white women. So they all came and they were just like, give me the teachings, give me the teachings. That's what it felt like, right? This feeling of like, I want to know all I can and I want to be like you. And I want to like, that was a whole thing. Like, can I be like you? And I'd always just be like, no, 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 you are not going to be a mini Asha. You are going to be your own, your own medicine keeper. So I think that like reverence brings us back to like, yeah, how these medicines have been stripped from my people and my lineage. And if you're just taking them and just like using them without that reverence, then you're just missing the whole trauma that has taken me to get here to even share them. So that is like honoring the wholeness of the journey, like the really, really shadowy, colonial, oppressive parts. I think people who are receiving the teachings have to hold that too.
Well, and if your whole book is about you or the medicine, it's like you guys have your own ancestors. You know that, right?
That's right. And I know it's more like I understand because when they have their disconnection, like people have disconnection from their ancestry or traumas happened. So I understand because I sit with a lot of folks that are just like, I don't know who my ancestors are. I don't know what their practices were. And I'm like, well, have you looked? Like, have you even went to look, or was it just easier to take somebody else's? And I understand the beauty that it looks like and all the things, the shiny things, But have you looked? Have you taken time to talk to some of your elderly, family members and sat and have tea with them to ask about stories? Because I guarantee the stories are there. If you're attracted to that, like indigenous medicine, I know there's a vibration similar to that in your lineage.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because kind of like we mentioned cancel culture earlier, being like the prohibitive force that makes people not want to engage because they don't want to get in trouble. Cultural appropriation is that as well, right? They don't want to appropriate, so they're like, ugh. But at the same time, just like what you said, if something is calling you towards this, there's reasons. And it's so interesting. Again, literally, I did ancestry.com years ago, probably like 2017. And just this morning, like have you ever done one of those 23andMe or Ancestry? Just this morning, they update things sometimes, and then I'll get a random. So literally like an hour before this interview, Ancestry pops something up. And what tends to be the things that get updated is they get a little more refined in being able to tell you what region. So for example, a good chunk of my family is Italian. And I remember when I first did my ancestry, it was like Southern Italy. And now it's like update. You can actually see what region of Southern Italy. And I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. Like, that's really interesting to me. And then I go like what you're saying, I'm like, oh, who were the witches? Like, what were the, like, somebody was indigenous there at some point, but also who came through? Because even European people, so most European countries were colonized at some point by somebody, like we've all heard of the Roman Empire. So, but I geek out on that stuff. And I also think about the regions of the world that I'm so drawn to, even just in like, why would I be so drawn to Morocco? And then what comes up in my damn lineage, like Morocco, Tunisia, whatever. And I'm like, there it is.
Well, your bones know, right? Like your waters know, like it's important.
Yes.
I love that. I mean, I had so many conversations about appropriation. I wrote this letter, "Dear White Woman Who Wants to Be Like Me," and it like went viral. And there was so much like, I mean, some people were so upset, so upset. But it was just from personal experience of dealing with like serving that audience for so long, and what came forward and what sort of harmed me at the time. And I also like have a lot of compassion for like it's a journey, and we just, I don't know, like I think seeing where we've done harm maybe in the past, having compassion for ourselves, we can make mistakes and we can have repair. And I think that the appropriation conversation I'm not black and white about that. I have a lot of nuance about that. And I understand from an indigenous perspective, like there's going to be a lot of indigenous people from Canada that will say, you do not have an animal spirit. Like you are not allowed to have an animal spirit. And it's just very black and white. And that's not my experience working with all these white women. So that I can't say that. So I have to talk from my experience, and that's all I know, because we are not a monolith. That's like the biggest thing. People just think like every First Nation in so-called Canada is like their own little country.
Mm-hmm.
And people like blanket statement all of us and say, this is what we all believe, but it's not for me. I think there's a lot of nuance, and I love that. I do think like, people talk about the indigenous spirit. I think that indigenous spirit does live on in many of us, but we have to come inside to discover it. It's not out here.
Totally. And even like once I find those pieces to connect the dots, like, cool, this might be the region. Well, someday, who knows what the world might be like? Maybe I'll get to go there and put my feet in that land and feel what that's like and see what comes in for me personally, or like then maybe what I start dreaming about or whatever. So it's more like, cool, now that I have a place to hone in on, I can, exactly like you're saying, see what does that activate? What does that open up for me? What now might come through and be available? And I appreciate what you said about, being nuanced about it. Even, for example, like the animal medicine or the animal spirit or whatever language people want to use. Cause like that orca thing we said about earlier, they came into my dreams. Like I didn't choose these orcas, they chose me. So is someone going to be like, sorry, what's happening in your own dreams you can't have? No. That doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't.
But I also wasn't out here calling orcas my spirit animals. I was just saying there's orcas in my dreams and they're a very meaningful connection for me.
Right.
So let's talk about working with the moon is a big part of your work as well. Yes.
Yes.
What do you want to what do you love talking about when it comes to the moon?
Oh, the moon. Well, in my book, we go through the 13 moon cycles. So there's 13 moons, and the names are based on sort of the land that I'm on. So the medicine that comes through has an animal spirit that goes with each moon. And it's based on like the hunting or the gathering or the whatever the seasons that were going on at that time. I've always loved the moon. I'm sure a lot of people have always loved the moon. Like it's our first family. It's part of our first family, and I think it's something that we can all relate to because it's always been there. And I love to talk about seasons and cycles because I think in my own life, I've been in, especially with my health, my physical body has been in a lot of shadow and darkness. So I've had to learn to sit with a lot of pain and learn to sit with a lot of pulling me into hibernation kind of energy. So I talk about bear medicine a lot because that has been my biggest teaching. Like I have that capitalistic colonial push, like you must keep going, you must push harder, you must do all those things. And my body's like, no, you can't. So bear's just like, come on, let's slow down, let's take a break, let's set boundaries, let's say no. And it's just a continual journey for me. So I love the seasonal cyclical nature of the moon, and just understanding that every single cycle is important. Even in this world of capitalistic, we must be on all the time. I think the moon calls me back to understanding that I need quiet and rest and darkness and shadowy times just as much as I need the other times.
How do you reconcile living in the real world and having bills to pay and raising children and like actually like there are some times when you do have to be on, right? Like these little kids need to eat breakfast, you know? So how do you reconcile the truths that you just shared with the reality of what living in this world is like?
Yeah, I think I'm still reconciling it. I think it's really, really hard. I think um and I wish like there's been so many one of my biggest dreams is like I wish I was just taken care of. Like I always
No.
say, right? I
Yes.
doesn't happen. I have to hustle to make things happen. That is the reality of things. So for me, I guess it's like being really it's like literally like I need a bath for 20 minutes. That is going to be my rest time, or I'm going to go to bed. It's very simple for me. I need to go to bed early tonight. I need to take a bath. Like it's like a little tiny moments, or I need my walk today, or I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, where I just have to build those things in because doing all the things, especially during a pandemic, has been so hard, so hard. And also, I realized how hooked in I was to this online business thing that it was like, I had a private practice. I'm like, oh, I'm going to like do something different now. And I got so hooked into I need a funnel. I need this. I need that. And then I was
Right.
just like, yesterday, actually, on this full moon, I was just like, I'm a healer. And however it's supposed to unfold like that, that's what I am. And I need to just like shed myself because this is not serving me. It actually makes me sick to hustle and push and launch all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Something I'm constantly saying, like to my people, I'm like, listen, y'all, I'm more medicine woman than businesswoman. But because I live in the 21st century, I have to be a medicine woman, I have to be a businesswoman, and I'm a mystic. And so this is, like you said, I would rather, I had this epiphany last week, actually, because I've been saying this for you. I would rather like live in a hut in a village and there's no money exchange, but the village feeds me, shelters me, and clothes me. And that's the exchange, right? But then I look at my life and like my chosen path, I'm child free. I actually love not having a partner. It wasn't that way for a while, but like last year I was like, wait a second, why am I even trying to meet a man? I love being on my own. I was like, God, if you want someone for me, just like send them in and they're literally going to have to like find me on the street or like pick me up at Whole Foods because I'm not doing this dating thing anymore. But I was like, oh, I guess I looked around my little like 1 bedroom apartment with my view and I'm like, maybe this is my hut. Maybe this is my 21st century hut. And me not having kids or not having a partner is like my way of like creating this fantasy of like probably my ancestors' lifetimes or previous lifetimes and being like, all right, well, this is the closest I could get. So this is what I was actually really laughing about that to myself a week or two ago. I'm like, maybe I've done it in the only capacity I could do it. I don't know.
oh, I love that. Because I think we hear like, I want to go back in time to the time when, but I'm like, but do you? Because we didn't have a lot of conveniences then
That's
either,
right.
right? I forget about that. So, yeah, I hear you. I think for me, it's like more like the internal rush. that I try to like pay attention to, because no matter what's going on outside, I'm trying to, I guess that's like re-indigenize
Yeah.
that part of me that just feels like it has to push through, or have a certain number of whatevers, like the metrics. I'm trying to
Yeah.
like unwind from the metrics.
I find one of the most important / easy, and this is for me, this really might not be the case for other people, things to unwind from is time. I actually saw someone last week on Instagram say, we do not need to live on colonial time. And I love that. And where I started doing that was in the context of white supremacy, like urgency is a function of like whiteness at work, or white supremacy, like always functioning on someone else's timeline or someone else's agenda. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I can, as a business owner, that I can unhook from because I make the timelines. So for me and people on my team, I could be like, we're not doing that, y'all. What can we do to make sure there's almost never any urgency in our world, which almost never, never isn't really possible. So that's cool. So what is there anything else that you find is easier or at least more accessible for you to unwind from?
I don't know. It feels sticky. It feels sticky as you say that. I think that that's like a big sticking point for me right now. It's just like, it's been part of like this understanding. Well, I guess that feels like it's part of my bones too. It's just like, it's like a whip saying like, you have to, that inner oppressor is really powerful at times. So I love the urgency piece though, because for me that resonates with my hustle, like my inner hustler. That's just like got a lot of value from being a hustler, and a lot of acceptance from that. Just seeing like, I mean, I still need to make money. How do I find the way to do that without that urgency piece locked into all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you've got, I love that word, because you've got that. That's the thing. I want to do things in a way that doesn't even cause that trauma for other people where it feels urgent. Like I just want to be so mindful of that. Like we're coming as co-creators, and it's just, it's ease filled. That feels beautiful to me.
Yeah. Well, and this is also one of the things I realized. I'm like, part of it, what actually really helped me too was humility. I love like the practice of humility and like really embodying humility, because I think in this online world, we can become a little self-important sometimes because we're getting that instant gratification and feedback, right? Like social media. Ooh, I posted, people liked it. Ooh, I asked if people would be interested in this and they said yes. So I must put it out into the world by the end of next week. It's like, cool. I'll get to it when I get to it. Like they can have it when I'm ready to give it to them, rather than feeling this invisible force of demand, because no one's really demanding. I could shut down my business tomorrow and some people will be upset. No one's life is ending if I decide to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm like, that is like I think about that all the time. I actually, when I really think about it is when someone like in our industry passes away, which we've had a couple of really big unexpected, people will call it premature. I don't believe in that. You go when it's your time, in the last several years. And I'm always like, wow. And their communities just move on.
Yeah, that is so humbling. It really is.
Humbling. Is there anything I didn't ask you about the book or about anything you've got going on or coming up that you were hoping I would ask you?
We've touched a lot of things. I really thank you so much for going so deep.
Of course.
Touched a lot of beautiful things that I really want to share.
Oh, good. All right. So where can people find it? Get the book, make sure they have all your links, all your social media, tell them everything, please.
So I have a free gift. That's a 13-moon ceremony guide that goes along with the book. So if you wanted to in that way, it's youarethemedicinebook.com. And you can find all the places across Turtle Island. You can get it, I think, Target, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, little bookstores too, if you want to ask them to carry it. That's like a huge win for me. So yeah, I'd love to share in that way. And then follow me on Instagram, because that's where I show up the most, I guess, the most authentically. I'm not there all the time. I'm there when I feel drawn to be there. So I'd love to see that.
Cool. And we'll put all those links in the show notes as well. And in the intro, we told them the link to the show notes page. So, well, thank you so much. It was nice to actually get to connect, learn more. I appreciate your wisdom. And I mean, I feel like I teared up like 3 or 4 times in this interview. So thanks for hitting me in the bones.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been such a pleasure.
All right. We'll see you later.